Good afternoon, everyone. I almost said good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome to those of you joining us today from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and abroad. If you could hear me, just send me a live chat note. I want to just confirm everything's working. Everybody's saying good afternoon. Awesome. Thank you very much. So today we've got a, excuse me, a 1 hour webinar, and you can see the topic here: online strategies for providing substance use prevention plus wellness programs. And my name is Dr. Chudley Wirch, and I'm the president and founder at Prevention Plus Wellness LLC, located here in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. So today we'll be spending an hour together. If you have that time to spend with me, I appreciate all of you from across the country and abroad who may have checked in with us. This is a updated version of this webinar, so we've expanded it because we are, we're covering some new content, some new ground, and this webinar and the accompanying protocols for providing your prevention plus wellness programs online are even more important than they have been just a month ago, as we continue to struggle together as with the COVID-19 and the uncertainties that it brings, and the fact that every day, as I hear from across the country, prevention and health providers like yourselves, things are changing very rapidly and going from in-person, working with youth and young adults, to online and various combinations. So we'll be providing you with some great tools to help you be successful in providing your evidence-based prevention plus wellness programs, regardless of the situation where you're at, so that you can get these essential prevention messages and tools to young people that need them so very much, especially now with all that's going on in their areas and in the world. So I am recording this, and at the end of today's session, I'll send everybody a link to the recorded session. You're welcome to share that with all of your friends and your colleagues in your region, in your state. I'll also send everybody a PDF of the slides for today, so you can feel free to refer to those and to share those as well. And lastly, everyone will get a 1 hour certificate, good for one hour CEU, for spending time with us today on this topic. All you'll need to do is just type in your name and then make a copy for your records. And so if you don't get this today, if you don't get this email from me today, do check your spam folders, because it's likely that because of the attachments, the certificate and the slides, sometimes those, the fact that an email is coming to you for the first time from me and it has an attachment, it can be sent to your spam folder. So please do check there, it's likely there, and I will send this out to you before the end of today. So let's go ahead and take a look at it, because we do have quite a few slides to cover. And I will try to save some time for Q&A at the end of today's session. And so if you do have questions, if there's something I'm saying that doesn't make sense, that's not clear, do type that into your chat option and ask that question earlier than later. And then I'll go through those, those comments and those questions in the order that they're received. So if anything pops up that you want to address, you want to know more about, you don't understand, or you have any questions you want to ask, go ahead and type those in chat as we go along. And then we'll address that at the end of today's session. So these are the objectives for today: describing protocols. And this is what you'll be able to do. You'll be able to describe protocols for providing substance use prevention plus wellness programs remotely online to youth and young adults, individually and in a group. Now, I realize we're focusing on PPW programs, as prevention plus wellness programs, but a lot of this content, even if you aren't using our programs, I think will be instructive for you as a prevention specialist with whatever content or even other programs that you're trying to provide to your youth. Secondly, you'll be able at the end of today to explain protocols for providing PPW programs or other substance use prevention programs in this unique, more recently developing situation where some of you may be providing your programs in person and also streaming live by video. Secondly, we've got protocols for just providing your programs by video, as well as in those situations where your youth participants don't have the technology or don't have the bandwidth, you can reach out to them by telephone. So we're really, trying to cover all bases to make sure you could provide your evidence-based, evidence-informed substance use prevention messages to youth, regardless of the situation. In person, great. If not, remotely in these different formats. Thirdly, we're going to explore tools for monitoring and evaluating online Prevention Plus Wellness program, both the quality and the outcomes or the effectiveness or the efficacy. And lastly, identifying PPW program online training and other resources, which I think you'll be very interested in learning more about. So that's what we're covering today in our hour. Just to start out, I'd like to identify the key advantages of Prevention Plus Wellness program. And these advantages, I think, are even more important now with the pandemic, because these advantages, or at least many of them, make Prevention Plus Wellness programs more feasible, more practical, and maybe even more cost-effective online than they were even in person. So very, very important characteristics of Prevention Plus Wellness programs that are unique and different than typical substance use prevention programs. So number one of the unique advantages of PPW programs is that they integrate substance use prevention with wellness promotion. This is so very important, especially for older adolescents and young adults that may have heard substance use risk messages before, and so they're really not interested in hearing those. They're not going to participate. They're not going to listen. And so by integrating the wellness aspects and the positive image communication, that becomes very appealing, especially, again, to older adolescents, to young adults, to family members, to community members, to schools, other agencies that you want to have access to implement your programs within, and even funding agencies. They like the fact that your PPW program, Prevention Plus Wellness program, is broad in nature and addressing not just substance use risk, but chronic disease risk by promoting wellness habits, physical activity, sports, healthy breakfast and nutrition, getting adequate sleep, and even controlling daily stress. Second advantage of PPW programs is that they're evidence-based, evidence-informed. You almost have to start there, you should start there, to know that these programs, all Prevention Plus Wellness programs, use an evidence-based practices screening and brief intervention format. In addition, they have a solid conceptual basis. The behavior image model is a sound theoretical foundation for all Prevention Plus Wellness programs. And then from there, you can evaluate the program and see how well it does for you. So evidence-based, evidence-informed. Number three, single session, screening and brief intervention, and scripted. And all of these are advantages. Single session means that you're able to get your message out either in person or online, very feasibly, practically, in the busiest of situations and scenarios. Screening and brief intervention, just the most support for any kind of intervention that we know of, and that is the screening and brief intervention or brief interventions, or SBIRT, or whatever the what am I trying to think of? Something, I just lost it. I'm trying to think of that coaching, that approach to counseling, interviewing process that is also considered a brief intervention. All of those have the most support, scientific support research for their efficacy. So screening, brief intervention, motivational, very, very important. And then lastly, because all prevention plus wellness programs are scripted, that makes training limited, and it increases the reliability and fidelity of implementation across providers and across time. So all of those are advantages. Number 4, individual and group. In-person scripts are provided in all PPW programs, and we now have protocols for providing a program online, individually, in group, by video, in combined in-person and online formats, and even by telephone. Number 5, very brief 2-hour online program implementer and training the trainer options, which make, again, training reasonable and practical for participants. And then we have not only scannable, but also online pre and post tests. So you, as a prevention specialist, can get your program evaluated. Very focused, and it will tell you how effective your program is for your youth, because there's a pre-test and a post-test right then and there for your single session program. All right. Motivational interviewing. I knew it would come to me. I just had, I hate that when that happens, when I forget things. Motivational interviewing is another screening, brief intervention format. All of those research shows have the most evidence in terms of their effectiveness over any other kind of intervention. All right, so now just want to take a quick look at a ranking. This is my ranking, and not all of you will agree, but there's some logic to it, that this is the preference in terms of providing prevention plus wellness and other substance use prevention programs face-to-face. Ideally, as you would imagine, one-on-one, I think the most powerful, in a group, second. Also, if you can't do that, and a lot of us can't because of the pandemic, if you can provide your program online, that is good. That is more than good, because it allows interactive learning. And if you're online, and if you're providing it online individually, it's almost like you're doing that in person. If you're providing it online to a small group, I'm talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that can be almost like it's in person. And then of course, when your group gets larger, 25, 30, then it becomes more challenging, but still live online, it allows that interactive learning. So that's the next best way to provide your program, your prevention plus wellness program, if you cannot provide it in person. Then if you can't do it live online, we recommend a recorded video. That at least allows a visual and auditory learning experience. And then lastly, if you can't do any of those, you have these other formats, and it is very important to reach out by telephone, by email, by text, whatever you can do to make that connection, that communication with youth, and provide that evidence-based, evidence-informed prevention message. So important, particularly during these, this very changing and stressful time that everybody's experiencing, not just us as professionals and as parents, but also our children, at whatever age they may be, children, young adolescents, older adolescents, young adults. All prevention plus wellness programs, as you can see by this slide, use an evidence-based practices, screening and brief intervention, SBI, and there's 3 steps to implementing all PPW programs. Step 1 is you're going to screen participants for their current health habits, not just substance use, but also these protective wellness behaviors, and that increases awareness of the young person's behaviors, current behaviors. Secondly, you're going to provide feedback about each of those behaviors using the script, using your PowerPoint slides, and the content is going to be positive and designed to cue future images of youth of themselves in the future, engage in the wellness behaviors, and using positive image terms that are designed to elicit unconscious images of themselves, being more fit, active, successful, healthy. These are very, very motivational terms that they elicit, again, visual images, unconscious images of themselves. That increases motivation for change. And of course, your content also shows how substance use interferes with achieving those benefits and those positive images. This third step then is to sort of capitalize, if you will, on that increased motivation for change by walking young people through goal setting, to set goals, to monitor goals, achievable, measurable, concrete goals, short-term goals, to move them forward in achieving their desired image of themselves, and then increasing self-regulation or self-control skills, which are so critical to young people, especially high-risk young people. That's the PPW practices strategy: screening, brief intervention, screening, feedback, goal setting. The preferred individual and optional group face-to-face protocol steps for implementation is right here. Step 1, you collect scannable pre-test survey data. Now this is optional, but again, I highly recommend you do it because it allows you to evaluate your program right then and there. Specific, concrete, focused assessment of how well your program is working and how you can improve your program. So you can collect your scannable pre-test survey, you implement your individual or your group script, you show your slides. Step 3, you collect your screening survey. Step 4, you provide feedback about each of those screening survey behavior items to either an individual youth or to a group. Step 5, you walk them through goal setting. And then step 6, you collect your scannable post-test. You got a pre-test and your post-test, sandwiching these steps of implementing your protocol, including screening, feedback, and goal setting. That's how we typically normally implement your Prevention Plus Wellness program, using your scripts, using your PowerPoint slides, when you're able to do it in person. But now, a lot of us can't do that. Now, a lot of us have to provide our programs online, and so we've got protocols. We've got them here. I'm sharing them. I'll show you where you can access them also on our website for free. And so let's go through all these various scenarios that I think are most common. And if you have ideas and thoughts for other scenarios that you're wrestling with, we can address that at the end of today's session. Here's a one-on-one or individual remote protocol. So this is a step-by-step protocol for providing your Prevention Plus Wellness program to one adolescent, one child, one young adult online. So number 1, first step is you become familiar with your video conferencing service, your platform. We're using Zoom today. A lot of people throughout the country, as I speak with them, are using Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, etc. Whatever it is, you become familiar with it. You have to learn the tool that you'll be using. And I know this is extra work for you. I know it's going to be, for some of you, it could be actually a steep learning curve. Once you develop an understanding and a feel for the tool that you're using, like Zoom, it becomes an awesome tool. It becomes a powerful tool. You become comfortable with it, familiar with it, and it allows you to do the work that you really need to do. So at first, extra work, extra learning, a challenge for all of you. I understand that. If I can help in any way, support you in any way, I'm happy to. And when we do help everybody in our 2-hour online program training, we do help them and provide more suggestions, more tips, more resources for providing your program virtually. Second step, you're going to notify somehow your participant, your young adult, your youth, as to the date and time for your session. Step 3, you're going to confirm that the young person, remember, you're presenting this one-on-one. It's you and your location, your youth and their location. You want them to have a quiet space and a protected space, and you're going to ask them to do that, but you really should assume that somebody's listening in. So keep that in mind, because you're talking to that individual youth about their health habits, including their substance use. Step 4, you're going to display the pretest survey link in the chat space. This is what we recommend. We can give you a customized pretest and post-test link. You just show it in the chat space. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You saw the chat already. There's the chat. You can literally drop your customized pretest link in that chat space. Ask your youth to click on it. Give them a couple of minutes to complete their pretest. Then you could launch your program. When you're done implementing your program, you can do the same with the post-test link. Give them a couple of minutes to complete it. And the beauty of providing your lesson in person is that you've been able to collect pre and post test without lifting a finger. You haven't had to collect it, you haven't had to enter it, you haven't had to scan it, and it's all done for you. And then we will share that data with you whenever you request it, because it's collected in our SurveyMonkey format, in the SurveyMonkey format that we give you the links to. So that's number 4. Number 5, you then initiate your program, you launch your program, you show your first program slide, you provide your script introduction, and then 6, here you really get into the content. 6A is you're going to show your screening survey items on the program slides, and because your youth don't have a screening survey in front of them, we have the screening surveys items built into the slides. So you show your slides and you ask your youth to complete this screening survey on a blank sheet of paper. Just say, get a sheet of paper, get a pencil or pen. I'm going to go through this with you, and I want everybody thinking and writing. So as you implement this to your one youth online, you have them complete a screening survey on a blank sheet of paper. So they're thinking, they're writing, they're active and engaged. That's 6A. 6B, then we have slides that repeat each of the screening survey questions. At that point, you could ask them to answer yes or no. Most of them are yes, no answers. And then you could tailor the script feedback to that one individual. And then when you get to that substance use question, because you want to protect their confidentiality, you want to be careful about answering that. I would say you could ask them to answer, instead of the amount they're using or whether they're using, have them answer by the letter response, A or B or C or D. That will protect their response to you and still allow you to provide that personalized feedback. Step 7, and again, we're going through the steps for providing live online between you and one youth. Step 7 is then when you ask the youth a discussion question, you could have them respond verbally. That's what I would do. It's just one-on-one. If they don't have the technology, then they could respond in live chat. But hopefully they have the technology and the bandwidth. You could see them, they could see you, you could talk to them, and they could respond. And then when you show your discussion questions, which are designed to have interaction and participation and continue to have that youth think about their health habits, you can have them respond and keep them engaged. Step 8, you're going to read and show the online goal plan contract, or as an option, you can use the actual hard copy. You could show the hard copy, a PDF version or Word version, whatever it is. You could display that and walk the youth through it, but you're going to have them fill it out once again on a blank sheet of paper because they don't have a copy, unless you're able to get them a copy in advance. I heard at least one organization was able to or planning to get the copies of the screening survey and the goal plan to youth in advance. That's ideal, but that's a lot of work and an effort, and the youth still may not have it when they need it. So if they don't, no problems. You could have them complete one, and there's 2 options. You could just show your new slides, which include an online version, and the youth can complete it on a blank sheet of paper. If you don't like that new slide version, which is designed for online use, then you could pull up and show an actual hard copy of the version that comes with the program. So you have an option there. We discuss all of that in our 2-hour online program implementer training. Step 9, you display, once again, your post-test link. So you just pull up your live chat, you drop your post-test link right there in the chat. You instruct all of your youth to click on it and give them a couple of minutes to complete it. Once they're done, the lesson's over, and then you, as the implementer, the teacher, the instructor, complete an instructor survey. That's a self-assessment of the quality of your implementation. That reminds you of how to continue to implement your program with high quality. So those are the 10 steps for you to implement your Prevention Plus Wellness program online to one youth. How about if you wanted to implement it to 2 or more youth? In other words, a group. If you can keep the group small to a limited number, half a dozen or so, then it becomes just like an in-person communication and presentation. If everybody has the technology and the internet bandwidth, we could all see each other, we can all talk to each other, and that's ideal. If it's larger, if it becomes 20, 30 people, then while it's not ideal, it's still very, very important for you to provide, and it allows you to provide that message, which you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have this electronic platform. So, but it becomes more like a webinar than a meeting. So it becomes a webinar more than a meeting, but still you're able to provide that essential evidence-based, evidence-informed message. What are the steps for you providing your Prevention Plus Wellness program to a group? Here they are, very much like the individual, a little bit different. I'll show you the differences. Number one, again, you have to become very familiar with your platform and all the options, such as where is the live chat, how do I open my slides to the largest visual picture of them like we are seeing them today, how do I control some of the other tools like thumbs up or clapping or raising a hand or other, am I going to use those tools? You become familiar with those by practicing implementing your PPW program online before you implement it to a live person. That's step one. Step two, you're going to notify your group of the date and time of the session. Step three, again, you're going to drop your pre-test link. If you decide to use a pre-post test, only takes a couple minutes. I don't see why you wouldn't, unless you've got some other evaluation plans. But you drop your pre-test link that comes with your program. We can give you a customized link just for your organization. You put that in a live chat. You ask your group to click on it individually, complete it in a couple minutes, and then you launch your program. Step four, you launch your program. You show your first slide, you show your introduction. Step five, you really get into it now. Step 5A, you show your screening survey items on your program slide. Just show your slides. It's all built into the new PPW program slides. You show your slides. You ask your youth to complete their screening survey. That's the first part of the intervention, on a blank sheet of paper with a pencil or pen. And then 5B, these screening survey questions will be repeated in future slides, and you have your youth just answer to themselves. Then when you get to step 6, when you get to these discussion questions, you want your youth to participate. If it's a small group, you can go around the group. Everybody can respond verbally. If it's a large group, the most likely tool that you can use and should use is the chat option. Have everybody respond. Take a look at the chat option. You know, you can pull it up right now, read 2 or 3 responses, and then go back to providing your program. This way, you're going to keep people as engaged as possible, thinking about their own habits, and yet moving along with your program content and keeping it within that window of the time frame that you have to present your lesson. Step 7. You're going to read and show your online goal plan. You could either show to your group the slides and have them complete a goal plan on a blank sheet of paper. Or if you don't like the goal plan slide, you can actually show the PDF or the Word version of the goal plan that comes with your program. And again, ask your youth to complete it on a blank sheet of paper. So youth can continue to participate and be engaged in the process of screening their health habits and completing a behavioral goal plan. Step 8, you display your post-test, customized post-test link. You have your youth click on it, complete it, you're done with your lesson, and then you, as the instructor, complete an instructor survey, a self-assessment of how well that lesson went. Now, here is a new scenario. We've covered online implementation to one youth, online implementation to 2 or more youth or a group. This is a new scenario where some prevention and health specialists and some organizations are having to present a lesson in person and at the same time stream to other students by video. It can be done with a little bit of a focus on, and that's why I wanted to identify the steps so that you can see how it can be done. It's very doable. Takes a little bit more effort, takes a little bit more planning, but it's very, very possible. And I want to give you these steps so that you can make sure you get your message so that you're not presenting it just to the in-person group and just omitting the virtual group. You can cover both groups, all students at the same time in that one setting. So step number one, you're going to collect the scannable pretest survey from your in-person participants. And at the same time, you're going to display the customized pretest link in your chat space for your virtual students. So you can do both at the same time. If you choose to, and if you desire to collect your optional pretest and post-test surveys, you can do that at the same time. You actually use a scannable form for the youth in person and the link for the virtual youth. And that will allow you to collect pre and post data from both groups, the in-person group and the virtual group. Secondly, you're going to show your first program slide. You're going to provide the introduction. Thirdly, here's where we get into it. 3A, you're going to show your screening survey items of the program slides and then have youth write down answers. Now, if for the in-person youth, they're going to complete an actual hard copy of a screening survey. For your virtual youth, they'll complete the survey on a blank sheet of paper. So you can address both. So both groups, the in-person group of students, the virtual group of students, can walk through the screening survey items. You'll go through them, they're on the slides, you'll show them. At the same time, those youth or those young adults that are in person, they'll actually have a hard copy of the screening survey. Those that are virtual, you'll show the slides and they'll be able to complete them just on a blank sheet of paper. So let's go to step 4, when asking youth a discussion question. For those of you that are in person, you can have 2 or 3 respond. Verbally, you can call on them, have them raise their hands, and then don't leave out your virtual group. You can also have them respond. If there's a small group virtually, you can have them respond verbally, just like your in-person group, or you can have them respond by live chat, and then you could read a couple of the chat items. So don't forget, you can keep your in-person group and your virtual group active by having them respond to your discussion questions. It depends on the size of the group and the technology that they have available to them. Step 5, you're going to read and show the hard copy of the goal contract to both groups. That's just going to make it easier. So what you'll do is you'll hand out a hard copy to the in-person group, and then you'll show this Word version, PDF version on your screen to the virtual group and have them complete it on the blank sheet of paper. One group in person completes it in the actual hard copy. The virtual group completes it on a blank sheet of paper. Once you're done with that, you go to step 6, where you're going to collect your post-test, the in-person group by the scannable form, the virtual group by the link, and then you're done with your lesson, and then you can complete the instructor survey. So yes, you can implement your program virtually as well as in this combined in-person virtual format. Now, I've even heard that some organizations may be having a counselor or a teacher in one location and then streaming their lesson to a group maybe live in person, and then others virtually. So, and I think you've got the tools here to be able to figure out how to do that. I don't know how many of you might do that. If you've got questions about that, issues, concerns, let me know. I'm happy to answer them the best I can. So let me give an example of how this works. So these are the actual slides, or some of the slides from the evidence-based sport prevention plus wellness program. This is our single session evidence-based screening and brief intervention. This is the high school version we're looking at. And let me walk you through this and give you a concrete example of how this can be presented online as well as in person. So as you notice, your slides will cue you as well as your students as to what's coming up. Here it is, the screening survey. Now, before you even show this first slide, what you're going to do is remember, if you're going to collect the optional pre and post test, do it now. You know, collect it with that link, that pre-test link right now, even before you show this first slide, drop it into the chat space, have them complete it, then show this first slide, and now you're ready to launch your lesson. They're going to have your youth complete the fitness screen. And so notice the slides show the questions to the health and fitness screen. And you're just going to say, now, I know you don't have a hard copy of this, although those in person, you could give them a hard copy. For those of you that are in this lesson virtually, grab a sheet of paper. I'll wait till you have a chance to have some paper and a pencil or pen. And now I'm going to walk you through this. The first question is, what sports or physical activities did you play in the last year? There's a long list there, so I want you to put a number 1 on your sheet of paper. And if in the last year you did any of these things in the last 12 months, so for example, if you play baseball, you played softball, even if you threw a softball or baseball, give yourself credit for that. And after the number 1, write baseball or softball. Same with basketball. Did you play basketball? Not just in a league or for your school or college or whatever, but even if you dribbled a basketball, shot a basketball, give yourself credit for that. Write the word basketball. So you're going to go through this, and the youth virtually are going to complete this on a blank sheet of paper, and you'll encourage them to, under S, identify any other physical activity, sports, chores that they've completed. And then you'll go on to question 2, regular physical activity, question 3, a social environmental question, question 4, healthy breakfast and food. Most of these are yes or no. Question 5, sleep, as you're seeing this. And then question 6 is your substance use question. It is the last question. For sport and in shape, it's going to be alcohol. For marijuana prevention plus wellness, it's going to be cannabis. For vaping prevention plus wellness, it's going to be e-cigarette use. Opioid PPW, it's going to be opioid misuse, etc. So, but when you get to the substance use question, remember, if you're presenting this to youth online, individually, you're going to want to protect their confidentiality. So you can have them respond by letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, rather than actually identifying the amount. Another option, if you have them if you present this to a group, you could just say, just answer this question to yourself. You don't have to write this down on your sheet of paper at all. Just keep that in mind, because again, while you present this to youth online, you have to assume that, and even if you've asked them, and you should, find a quiet place, find a protected place where you're by yourself, you have to assume that somebody's listening in, and you do want to protect them when it comes to this very sensitive substance use question. Then notice there's a repeat of the screening survey questions, starting with the first one. What sports and physical activities did you play in the last year? If it's one-on-one, you can have them answer verbally, and then you can provide a tailored response. If it's to a group of 2 or more, you're just going to say, just answer this to yourself. You've already answered it in your screening survey on a blank sheet of paper. You'll provide some positive feedback, positive image communication. For example, number 2, this helps you look fit and strong. That's, excuse me, that's very image evoking messaging. So that triggers that unconscious positive image, a desired image of themselves, of their peers, and that increases motivation for change. And then, of course, you're going to link how substance use, in this case, alcohol, especially, interferes with and harms that wellness behavior, physical activity, and sports in the last year, and achieving those positive outcomes in images. Then there's a repeat of the second screening survey question, which was about regular physical activity, 30 minutes 4 or 5 times a week, such as running, biking, walking. You can have them answer to themselves, or if it's one-on-one, you have them answer verbally, so you can provide the customized feedback. There's the image content, the benefits slide, and then discussion questions. So there's going to be built-in discussion questions, very important, especially when you present your lesson either in person in a group or online in a group, because you want to keep them engaged, but then you want to balance that with, again, fitting your screening, feedback, goal setting all in one lesson, that one period. So when you practice this script in your slides, you do want to practice and make sure you're able to fit it. And some of you might have a 45-minute window, 55 minutes, 60 minutes. Some of you might have the benefit of even having 90 minutes, which gives you plenty of time to provide your lesson. 60 minutes, actually plenty of time. 55 minutes, you can do it. Even 45 minutes, I believe you can do it, even with a pre-post test. So, discussion question, you want them to respond. If it's one youth online, they can respond verbally. If they have that option, if it's a group and it's a larger group, you can have them respond in the chat option, pull up the chat, read some of the responses, and then move on. This question is essential. These discussion questions are essential to engaging youth, to keeping youth participating in this, even though you're implementing this very quickly, lots of enthusiasm, passion, getting through this communication with them. But you do want, this gives them a chance to participate and to think of their own habits, their own behaviors, which is so critical. And then again, how alcohol and other drug use interferes with that wellness behavior, which is regular physical activity. Eventually, you're going to get to recommendations for wellness. Notice number 4 is not just avoiding alcohol, but other substances. And then also recommending all of these protective behaviors, from plenty of sleep to regular eating breakfast and plenty of other healthy foods like fruits and vegetables, and plenty of types of activity, whether it be sports or work or exercise or whatever, moving the body, very, very critical. Then you're going to get to this slide that says complete a goal plan. Now remember, if you're presenting this online, you have an option. You could just continue the slide because there's an optional goal plan shown in the slides. If you don't like that, you can show a Word document or PDF of the goal plan that's in your program. Either way, you're going to have your youth, your young adults complete the goal plan on a blank sheet of paper. So if you go with the remote online goal plan, it has 6 components to it I want to highlight for you. There's a pledge to avoid alcohol and drugs. Number 2, there's going to be an opportunity for your participants to write a achievable, measurable habit, a wellness habit to improve. 3, they're going to identify who co-signs their goal plan. Normally, when you present this in person, you would be the co-signer. Online, you want them to identify who's going to co-sign it. By sharing the goal, that increases motivation for change. 4th, they're going to identify locations for posting their goal. 5th, you're going to have a congratulatory and informational statement. And lastly, you're going to remind them to sign and have somebody co-sign their goal, which they completed on a blank sheet of paper. Just to give you an example of a couple of these online goal plan contract/pledge components. Here's the first component. You pledge to avoid alcohol and drugs in the next 7 days in order to maintain an active and healthy lifestyle. Notice we link the positive image to the avoidance, and then they write number 1 and they write yes or no. We had this implemented just recently to a group in New York. I think it was White Plains, and the vast majority, 90-some%, said yes. They're making a pledge to avoid substance use. You've motivated them, and they're likely to say yes to this. And then you will also have them, number 2, identify a specific wellness behavior to increase. So they get a choice: A, related to sleep; B, related to breakfast nutrition; C, related to physical activity; and even D, related to stress control. And there's more slides related to this so that they can identify and write that concrete goal on a blank sheet of paper. And this is the way you present it online. Now, there's another scenario where you want to, for whatever reasons, to save time, to reach more youth, to provide a recorded video. Remember, the recorded video typically does not allow the interaction, which is so important to learning and motivation. But you can make an adjustment for that. So let me show you how this works and how we recommend that if you go this route, here's how we suggest you consider doing it. Number 1, you record a video of you presenting your Prevention Plus Wellness lesson as though you're presenting it to a group. Number 2, you then send your participants a link of the recorded video And along with that, you're going to send them a customized link to the online pretest with instructions to complete the pretest before viewing the video. So that's all packaged together. You send them the video link, but you also send them the pretest link, pretest survey link, and then you have instructions there. Say, hey, click on the pretest link, take 2 minutes, complete it, then view the video. Then you go to step number 3. You provide them with instructions to stop during the video and to complete the screening survey. That's the part of the intervention, and the goal plan on a blank sheet of paper. So you're going to instruct them to, during the lesson, during the video, you'll remind them, you'll instruct them and remind them that stop and complete the screening survey on a blank sheet of paper, stop and complete the goal plan on a blank sheet of paper, so they know to stay active. This will increase the likelihood of them listening and doing something during that recorded session. Step number 4, you're going to also include instructions and a link once they're done with the video to click on the post-test link and to complete it. This is very important because this will allow you to see, let's say if you send these links out to 10 students, how many of them have completed the pre-post test. You won't know who completed it, but you'll know the numbers, and you can encourage them to make sure that they do complete the pre-post test, and you'll have that very, very important data. And then lastly, this is very important. If you really want to increase the potential efficacy of your recorded session, you meet with your participants either in person or online to review their goal plans. So this is where you can have an actual discussion. It could be verbal, it could be through live chat, and this is where you can provide some corrective feedback and ensure that the goals were set to be measurable and achievable. This is where you have an opportunity to meet with them. And this step 5, it would really increase the potential efficacy of your recorded video. It will also ensure, if you let them know in advance, that, hey, guess what? We're going to meet online after you view the video, and I'm going to talk to you about your goal plan. So it'll increase the motivation for them to literally watch the video and complete the pre-post test. So these are some really good, I think, steps for getting the best out of a recorded video protocol if you choose to use that mechanism. Lastly, if you absolutely have to, if you don't have the internet in your region, maybe you're rural, maybe you're low SES, urban, whatever the reason, you can't get online with your youth, the telephone is a great tool to do that. Here's 5 easy steps. You call and confirm that you're speaking with the participant. You provide your script introduction, number 2. Number 3, you ask your first screening survey question, and then you provide feedback depending on how they answer. Question 4, you go through the whole script. Step 4, I should say. Step 5, you read the goal plan and help them complete it on a blank sheet of paper. And now 6 is optional. If you want to increase the quality of this telephone conversation, if you can do this, you can mail, email, or text a copy of the pre-test and post-test, maybe even the slides, maybe even the goal plan contract in advance of your telephone conversation, so they have something to look at and follow through. So you can complete and ensure that your students are getting your evidence-based, evidence-informed prevention program, even if you have to do it by telephone. Remember, I had mentioned this before. I just wanted to clarify, we do offer customized links. That means that your organization will have a link just for your group, just for your youth, your providers and your youth to use, or your young adults. And so when your participating youth to young adults complete it, it'll be separate from everybody else's in the country. So, and what the pre and post test measures, the online pre and post test, obviously you have a scannable form, but the online form, it's a link, and it measures behavioral intentions and perceived harmfulness, two of the most predictive measures of future behavior, because you're presenting it before and after the lesson at one time period. You don't have time to measure behavioral measures because you don't have a month later to follow up. This allows you to collect pre and post tests at that same session and to really get feedback from your youth. So you've got perceived harmfulness, behavioral intentions, 5 measures of substance use, 4 measures of healthy habits, and also the post test has open-ended qualitative measures, which are essential to informing the quantitative measures of behavioral intentions and perceived harmfulness. Then your instructor survey, you have that in your manual and your digital download. Every instructor should complete this at the end of every week of lessons or every lesson. It's a self-assessment. And by the way, your supervisor, your manager can also use it as an observational tool to observe you and watch how you provide lessons and use it to score you and then give you positive feedback. So this instructor survey has 7 measures of high quality presentation or communication, from number 1, your comfort level, and 2, active presenting, and 3, your level of enthusiasm and passion, all the way down to number 7, the participant's responsiveness. This is a self-assessment tool, but also your manager or supervisor can use it as an observational evaluation tool. Now, PPW provides program online training and resources. You can see the list here. There's this presentation. This is being recorded. We're going to put the link on our website, and the protocols are already on our website. The ones that we went through in the slides for being able to implement your PPW program online to one youth, to a group of youth, in combined setting where you're providing it in person and virtually, by telephone, by video. All of those protocols are posted on our website. We also offer, number 3, a 2-hour online program implementer training, where now we focus as much on presenting and providing a program online as we do in person, and that could be tailored to your setting and your needs, that 2-hour training, and it's $199 per instructor. We also offer a 2-hour online training, the trainer program. We offer a 1-hour training with slides to youth so that youth can turn around and provide our same programs to their peers. The same programs that you're providing to youth, you can have your youth provide to their peers, and that's the 1-hour youth leadership training program. Our new program manuals and digital downloads are available for $4.99 an instructor, and we do have free COVID resources posted on our website under Tools, COVID-19 resources. So just to conclude, number 1, PPW programs have many advantages built into them, which makes them very feasible, very practical to implement online in these various formats that we discussed today. So you can provide them in person to one youth, to a group of youth, and now you can provide them very easily with the new protocols and the training we provided and that we do provide to program implementers. You can provide your PPW programs to youth virtually. And again, the advantages, they're brief, they're screening brief interventions and so forth, allow you not only to implement them online, but also assess how well they work for you online. Secondly, we provide a number of program resources such as this training, live and recorded, the protocols for implementation, updated online training, and even program manuals and digital downloads. And lastly, we provide these customized pre and post survey links so that you can literally evaluate the efficacy and the outcomes of your program and hear from your participating youth in their own words and those open-ended post-test questions, which are what did they like best and what did they like least. So that's it very quickly. A lot of content here. I know I've gone through this rather quickly. If you have questions, you could ask me right now in the live chat or make comments, or there's also a Q&A section some of you like to use. You could also reach out to me after today by calling us here in St. Augustine. 904-472-5022 is our telephone. Info@preventionpluswellness.com is our easiest email, and preventionpluswellness.com is our website. Go to PPW, go to preventionpluswellness.com, drop in your email address, and you'll be informed and notified about upcoming webinars and other resources. And there's a snapshot of our website, preventionpluswellness.com. So I thank you so much. Let's take a look at the questions and the comments people have had. So here's one from Kathy. How do you capture the answers they write on a piece of paper in their location? So that's a good question. So you capture that. So the questions that they're writing on a blank sheet of paper in terms of the screening survey and the goal plan is really for them. You're not really interested in that, with the exception of the screening survey when you present it to them one-on-one. So when you ask them to answer the questions on a blank sheet of paper, and you're doing this remotely, virtually by Zoom or what have you, and then you want to tailor your responses to how they answered each of those survey questions, those screening survey questions, the slide will repeat the screening survey question, and then you'll just ask them to answer it verbally. If they say yes, you provide one response. If they say no, you provide the other response. So that's the only situation in which you really want to know how they responded to the screening survey question. The screening survey is really about increasing their awareness. That's for them. You're not collecting that. However, if you choose to use the pre-test and post-test survey, those will be collected online in SurveyMonkey. And that you'll have access to. You won't know who answered which questions, but the data will be captured and it will be confidential. And so let me know if I answered that for you, Kathy, if that makes sense. In terms of the goal plan, when they complete the goal plan, that goes home with them. That stays with them. That's for them to post and to monitor. So you're not really too concerned about that, except for the quality of it. And when you walk them through it, you can ensure that they understand it and that they write a good measurable goal plan, because you can have discussions of that either verbally or by live chat. So that was a great question, Kathy. Let's see if there are any other questions or comments in the chat area. So let me just make this a little bit larger. So let's see, I'll go back as far as I can. Motivational interview, thank you. MET, yes, I hate that when I have those mental breakdowns or whatever those are. But they seem to be coming more frequently. I hate to say it, but you do see the color of my hair. So yes, there's some issues there, but I'm not that bad yet. Trust me, so don't worry. So you may cover this later on in the presentation, but wondering how you can verify or get an honest assessment of students' use of ATOD before and after the program takes place. So that's a great question. That's a typical question from, it's from Bill, but it's asked very often. And so we can just do the best we can. You know, that's part of it. The other part of it is that when you collect your data, your screening survey, if that's what we're talking about, let's say we're talking about the pre-post test, that's assessing the quality of the program. The fact that it's online will increase the chances that your youth will answer honestly. Okay, so, and then another aspect of this is that you're not actually measuring behaviors, you're measuring indicators or predictors of behaviors, behavioral intention, perceived harmfulness. Youth are more likely to answer honestly to those than a straightforward question about, you know, have you used cannabis in the last 30 days? So for those reasons, I think you're likely to get, and research supports this because there's been, you know, decades of research looking at the quality of self-assessment. But you've got two things going for you that'll increase the quality and the accuracy. One, online completion of your pre and post test. Secondly, that they're indicators of behavior rather than actual behaviors. When you collect your data in person, let's say you present your PPW program in person and you're going to ask them to complete the pre and post test on the scannable form, we have a whole protocol built within the script that highlights that you want them to answer these without any notification of who they are. Not to put their name on them. Please answer honestly. This is private. This is secret. And that helps reduce what we call social desirability. In other words, the likelihood that young people would feel compelled to underestimate their substance use risk because they think somebody might be looking at it. So we've got a protocol. So how you implement your measurement is as important as the actual measures themselves. So I hope that answers that for you, Bill. And by the way, remember the post-tests also have qualitative measures. The youth are going to respond in their own words, and those will supplement and I think increase your confidence in the quantitative data that you collect. And by the way, young people are less, not too likely to actually write or type an answer where they're lying. Let's see, a question from, I think it's Nicole. Will these protocols be available after the training? They're already available online. I'll send you a link. You'll be able to find them, Nicole. But just to tell you right now where they're at, preventionpluswellness.com, under tools, under the COVID-19 resources. One more time, preventionpluswellness.com, under tools, that's TOOLS. It's the first item in that drop-down menu, and it's COVID-19 resources. And you could find the new protocols right now. And after this recorded lesson has been processed, we'll put the link to this lesson on that page as well. So that was a great question. Thank you for that. Let's see, get 8 hours of sleep. Laugh out loud, how? That's a lot of sleep. Well, that's all discussed in the online training. And yes, most youth do not get 8 or more hours of sleep. Some need 9 or 10. But you could laugh out loud about the fact that most also don't get 1 hour of exercise 7 days a week. Most do not eat a healthy breakfast. Only less than 14% even eat 3 vegetables, let alone 5. So, personally, I think those are really critical things to work on. And so you're providing them an opportunity to figure out how they can move toward adequate sleep. And we discuss more of that in the training when you provide this. So you're going to motivate them to see the benefits, and particularly the images of a well-rested, successful, well-functioning young person. And then you're going to give them an opportunity to set a goal to start moving in that direction a little at a time. And that can be a very successful and powerful strategy for increasing self-control over their habits. So this is really good and a different view of being able to implement programming, and it's very practical. And I know we're hearing a lot of negative things about online teaching and so on, but it's really a blessing. It's really an awesome tool. Just to give you an example, my wife's experience as a special ed teacher, 25 years. Last couple of months, she's had to do, the virtual thing, had to present her lessons and work with her students online. They use Microsoft Teams. She didn't like it. It was at first, it was a sort of a steep learning curve, but after a couple of weeks, she understood the platform. She became familiar with it. She understood how important it was and really found it as an essential tool to connecting, communicating, supporting her youth. And I believe you'll find the same thing. And to the extent you present your lessons to one youth or small group of youth, online is really not much different than in person. When you talk about implementing it to a large group, like a typical classroom, then it becomes more of a webinar, and then it's more of a challenge to keep everybody engaged, but still you'll be able to reach out and provide these essential motivational communications and self-regulation, skill development that without these tools, you would not be able to provide. So really, really awesome tools, and they continue to evolve and improve, and our understanding of how to use them evolves and improves. So that's the beauty of these. So I'm a firm believer of using these to provide your evidence-based prevention messaging. The session has been insightful, transformative. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for those positive comments. Love to hear them. And let's see, thank you for all the information. That's my boss. She's wonderful. There you go. There's how you use your technology. I can find the pretest on the Survey Monkey, and the post-test is there. I had this training in the spring. Oh, I can't find the pretest on the Survey Monkey, and the post-test is there. So what we do during the training is, if you want, you can find the pretest and the post-test link right now under preventionpluswellness.com, tools, COVID-19 resources, but that's the generic link. So if you're going to use the pretest and the post-test, email me at info@preventionpluswellness.com, and I'll give you a customized pretest and post-test link just for your organization. So your data is separate from everybody else's in the nation. So that's what you should be doing. What is that? It looks like Clarissa. So if you're still on, do request that for me. I could send you, if I haven't done so already, and I may not have, I'm happy to send you a customized pre-test and post-test link to your pre and post-test. I second that. Jimmy, she's the best. We got some popular people here. And I second that also. And how you get the customized pre-test post-test link, I've just explained that. Let me know if you have any other questions about that, Margaret. Normally we discuss that again in our 2-hour online program implementer training. How do you help the kids keep track of the paper to make sure that the goal plan stays secure so that they don't lose it? Well, that's always a challenge, you know, isn't it? So you will have post instructions, congratulations and instructions as to what they're supposed to do. To post it, where to post it, to track it, and whatever you can do as a prevention specialist to remind them to review their goals every day, to reinforce their successes. If you have a chance to meet with them a following session, then you could spend time going over their goals with them. Whatever you can do to keep the ball rolling with regard to setting measurable, achievable goals, tracking them every day for the next week, resetting them for the second week, and start that behavioral change process. Whatever you can do to support that, that's what you can do, and that's a very powerful tool for young people. So no, I have the best staff. So we got a competition going about the best staff and about the best boss. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Vicksburg family. Thank you, Vicksburg folks. I'm getting ready to present this. Good. Jimmy, most likely we have to set goals. Okay, so at this point, I don't see any other questions. I'm just going to remind everybody to let me know if you need anything else. I'm going back to the Q&A here. I see there's a couple of things. I understand the basics. If people are viewing on their phone, can they still take the pre-test and post-test information? Yes, they can. You'll be showing the link. They'll be able to click on the link. I personally find it more difficult. Young people are not going to have a problem with it. They were born with these things in their hands. They've got better eyesight than I. They know how to do everything on their phone. I prefer a bigger screen and the bigger text, but hey, it's young people. So they know the technology. They're not going to have a problem. So yes, it doesn't matter what device they're on. It could be a smartphone. It could be a tablet. It could be a laptop. They'll be able to, and even teach you how they can do this. They'll be able to perform, I think, just fine on whatever the device is. That increases the reach for your program. So that's a great question as well, Kathy. Email address, the easiest email address is info, I-N-F-O, at preventionpluswellness.com. Remember, if you've registered for today, I'm going to send everybody an email. You'll be able to respond back to me through that email, and everybody's going to get a certificate, the slides, a link to the recorded session. So you'll be able to respond to that, and that's the easiest. Or again, if you want to reach out to me right now, info at preventionpluswellness.com. Our phone number is 904-472-5022. That's 904-472-5022. Just checking the chat. I think we've got it all covered. So I think we're good. God bless you all for what you do in your communities, in your regions. Keep up the good work. Let me know if we can support you in any way. Your prevention heroes, you're making a difference in the lives of youth and families, and it's an awesome opportunity to work with you, and we love it. And if we can help, again, let us know. I will follow up. You'll be hearing from me. Have a great afternoon and a wonderful weekend, and please do stay safe, everyone. Thank you. Bye, everyone.